Picture this. You're at a bar with your buddy Mike. Mike's doing everything the dating coaches told him to do. He's telling engaging stories, making witty jokes, keeping the conversation flowing like a professional talk show host. He's literally carrying the entire interaction on his back. Meanwhile, there's this other guy at the end of the bar. Barely says 5 words every minute, takes long pauses before responding, sometimes just looks at the woman he's talking to without saying anything at all. Here's what's going to shock you. By the end of the night, Mike's girl is checking her phone and making excuses to leave. But the quiet guy, his girl is leaning in closer, touching his arm, desperately trying to fill the silence with her own words. She's practically begging for his validation. And when she goes home that night, guess who she can't stop thinking about? What I'm about to reveal to you is the most powerful psychological trigger that 99% of men have absolutely no idea exists. It's a simple rule that takes exactly 7 seconds to execute, costs nothing, requires zero skill, and will completely revolutionize how women respond to you. This isn't some pickup artist trick or manipulation tactic. This is pure psychological science that's been hiding in plain sight. The uncomfortable truth that most men refuse to accept is this: your words are killing your attraction. Every time you rush to fill a silence, every time you nervously laugh at your own jokes, every time you immediately answer her questions, you're literally training her brain to see you as low value. But when you master the 7-second rule I'm about to teach you, something magical happens. She starts chasing your validation. She starts wondering what you're thinking. She starts investing more emotional energy into winning you over. And the best part? She has absolutely no idea why she's doing it. Her conscious mind might even think you're being rude or distant, but her subconscious, where real attraction lives, is going absolutely wild. Stick with me for the next few minutes, and I'll show you exactly how to weaponize silence to create the kind of deep, obsessive attraction that most men only dream about. Let me blow your mind with some neuroscience. When you create a strategic pause in conversation, her brain literally cannot help but fill that void. It's called the Zeigarnik effect, and it's one of the most powerful psychological phenomena known to science. Unfinished patterns create cognitive tension that the brain desperately wants to resolve. Think about the last time someone started telling you something important and then stopped mid-sentence. Your brain probably went crazy trying to figure out what they were going to say. That mental occupation, that desperate need to complete the pattern, that's exactly what happens in her mind during those 7 seconds of silence. Here's what's happening on a neurological level. During silence, her mirror neurons are firing like crazy, trying to read your emotional state. Her amygdala is activated, creating a slight stress response that heightens her emotional state. Her prefrontal cortex is working overtime trying to interpret the meaning of your pause. And most importantly, her dopamine system is primed for the reward of your eventual response. This creates what neuroscientists call an open loop. Her brain has started a pattern that needs completion, and until you provide that completion, she literally cannot stop thinking about it. Women are biologically wired to be more sensitive to social cues than men. They have more active mirror neuron systems, which means they're constantly trying to read and respond to the emotional states of others. When you create silence, you're not giving her anything to mirror. This creates a fascinating psychological vacuum where she starts projecting her own thoughts and feelings into that space. She begins to wonder, is he not interested? Is he thinking about something deep? Does he think I said something stupid? This mental occupation is the foundation of attraction. The anticipation reward circuit in her brain works exactly like a slot machine. When rewards are predictable, we quickly lose interest. But when they're unpredictable, we become addicted. Your words and validation are the reward. When you make them unpredictable through strategic silence, you're literally creating an addictive response in her brain. Here's the brutal truth about why men talk too much.
It's not because they have so much interesting stuff to say, it's because silence makes them uncomfortable. They're terrified that if they stop talking, she'll lose interest. So they become dancing monkeys, desperately performing for her attention. Every time you immediately fill a silence, you're subcommunicating. I'm uncomfortable with tension. I need your approval. I'm afraid of losing your attention. These signals trigger her hypergamous instincts to tell her you're lower value than she is. Think about the highest value men you know, the CEOs, the leaders, the guys who command respect wherever they go. Do they nervously fill every silence? Do they rush to answer every question? No. They're comfortable with pauses. They take their time. They make others wait for their words. I once watched a friend completely destroy a perfect interaction by talking too much. This gorgeous woman was clearly interested in him. She was asking questions, leaning in, playing with her hair, but he was so nervous that he just kept talking. He answered her questions instantly, then added 3 more sentences explaining his answer. He filled every pause with nervous laughter or random observations. Within 20 minutes, I watched her body language completely change. She went from facing him directly to angling away, from maintaining eye contact to checking her phone, from asking questions to giving one-word responses. The validation-seeking trap is real. When you overtalk, you're essentially saying, "Please like me. I'll keep entertaining you until you decide I'm worthy." But attraction doesn't work that way. She doesn't want a performing seal. She wants a man who's confident enough to let silence exist. Here's what most men don't understand. Women are attracted to emotional states, not information. When you're constantly talking, you're giving her information. When you're strategically silent, you're creating emotional states. Mystery, anticipation, curiosity, slight anxiety. These emotions are infinitely more powerful than any words you could say.
The 7-second rule is beautifully simple. When she asks you a question or makes a statement that expects a response, you pause for exactly 7 seconds before responding. Not 3 seconds, which feels natural. Not 15 seconds, which feels awkward. Exactly 7 seconds. This specific duration is based on psychological research showing it's long enough to create cognitive tension, but short enough to maintain social acceptability. During those 7 seconds, you maintain soft eye contact, not a creepy stare, but a relaxed, confident gaze. You might slightly tilt your head like you're considering what she said. Maybe a subtle smile plays at the corner of your mouth. Your body language remains open and relaxed. You're not frozen or tense. You're simply taking your time. There are 3 types of strategic silence that create massive attraction. The first is the evaluation pause. This is when she says something, and you pause as if you're really considering whether it's worth responding to. This makes her feel like she needs to earn your engagement. The second is the emotional pause. This is when you pause right before saying something that could be emotionally significant. It builds anticipation and makes whatever you say next feel more important. The third is the power pause. This is when you pause mid-sentence, right when you're about to make a point. It makes her lean in physically and emotionally to hear what comes next. Here's how to count without looking weird. Don't literally count in your head because that will show on your face. Instead, use anchor phrases. Think slowly to yourself, "That's an interesting perspective to consider." That's almost exactly 7 seconds when thought at normal speed. Your face remains engaged and thoughtful while your internal timer runs. Your body language during the pause is crucial. Lean back slightly, showing you're not eager or needy. Keep your shoulders relaxed and open. Breathe slowly and deeply. Maybe touch your chin or lips thoughtfully. These subtle cues communicate that you're a man who thinks before he speaks, who isn't reactive or impulsive. When you master strategic silence, you fundamentally shift the power dynamic of every interaction. The person talking more is always the one chasing. It's a universal law of human communication. By making her fill the silences, you're positioning yourself as the prize to be won. Here's a psychological principle that will blow your mind. It's called effort justification.
The more effort someone puts into something, the more they value it. When she has to work to get responses from you, when she has to fill the silences with her own words, when she has to earn your engagement, her brain literally rewires itself to value you more highly. I'll give you a perfect example. There's this concept called the lean-in effect. When you create strategic pauses, watch her body language. She'll physically lean toward you, trying to bridge the gap created by your silence. This physical investment translates to emotional investment. Her body is literally moving toward you because her mind is becoming more invested in you. The frame control established through silence is incredibly powerful. Frame is simply whose reality is dominant in the interaction. When you're comfortable with silence and she's not, you're forcing her to operate within your frame. She's adjusting to your communication style, not the other way around. This subtle dominance is extremely attractive to women on a primal level. Think about every conversation as a tennis match. Most guys try to hit the ball back as fast as possible, keeping the rally going at all costs. But the player who controls the pace of the game is the one who wins. When you pause before returning her serve, you're dictating the rhythm of the entire interaction. Let me break down the specific techniques you can start using immediately. The question pause is when she asks you something personal. So, what do you do for fun? Instead of immediately launching into your hobbies, you pause, look at her with slight amusement, and then give a shorter answer than she expects. This makes her work harder for information about you. The statement hover is when you make a statement and then pause, letting it hang in the air. You know what I noticed about you? Then pause for 7 seconds. Watch her pupils dilate as her brain races to figure out what you're about to say. This creates massive emotional investment before you even finish your thought. The emotional vacuum is when she's expressing strong emotions, and instead of immediately validating or responding, you create space for those emotions to exist. She's telling you about her bad day, and instead of jumping in with advice or sympathy, you pause and let her emotions fill the space. This makes her feel deeply heard without you saying a word. The exit silence is one of the most powerful techniques. When you're leaving or ending a conversation, you pause before your final words. I have to go, but 7 seconds pause. This creates an open loop that ensures she'll be thinking about you long after you're gone. The phone pause is criminally underutilized. When you're on the phone and she asks you something, pause even longer than you would in person. She can't see your body language, so the silence creates even more tension. She'll often start talking again, revealing more about herself, investing more in the conversation.
When you're using strategic silence correctly, her responses will tell you everything. Watch for the nervous giggle. When your pause creates tension she doesn't know how to handle, she'll often giggle nervously and start talking more. This is exactly what you want. She's trying to fill the vacuum you've created. The over-talking response is the clearest sign she's hooked. When a woman starts volunteering information you didn't ask for, explaining things in more detail, asking you questions to get you to talk, she's demonstrating investment. She's working to maintain the connection, which means she values it. Watch her body language during your pauses. If she maintains eye contact, leans in, or touches her face or hair, she's emotionally engaged. If she looks away uncomfortably or checks her phone, you might need to calibrate your approach. Not every woman responds the same way to silence. She'll test your silence to see if it's genuine confidence or just a technique. She might say something like, "Why are you so quiet?" Or, "What are you thinking about?" This is actually a great sign. She's noticed your silence and it's affecting her. Don't immediately explain yourself. Smile slightly and say something like, "Just processing," and continue the conversation. The escalation signals during pauses are subtle but powerful. When your silence creates the right kind of tension, she'll often escalate physically. She'll touch your arm to get your attention, move closer to hear you better when you finally speak, or mirror your body language more intensely. The difference between powerful silence and awkward silence is all about calibration. Powerful silence comes from a place of confidence and thoughtfulness. Awkward silence comes from a place of not knowing what to say. Your internal state matters more than the technique itself. Cultural considerations are important. In some cultures, longer pauses are more acceptable. In others, they might be seen as rude. Pay attention to her communication style and adjust accordingly. If she's naturally fast-talking and energetic, your pauses create more contrast and therefore more impact. Avoiding the creepy stare is crucial. During your pause, your eye contact should be soft and warm, not intense and predatory. Think of it as looking through her rather than at her. Occasionally break eye contact to look thoughtfully to the side, then return to her eyes. The balance between silence and engagement is an art. You can't just be silent all the time. That's not mysterious, it's boring. Use the 70-30 rule. She should be talking about 70% of the time, you about 30%. Your 30% should be high-quality, thoughtful contributions punctuated by strategic pauses. If you mistime a pause and it becomes genuinely awkward, don't panic. Simply smile and say something like, "Sorry, you just made me think of something." Then continue the conversation normally. The ability to recover smoothly from mistakes actually demonstrates higher confidence than never making mistakes at all. Using silence in text messaging is a game changer. When she texts you a question, don't immediately respond. Let her see that you've read it, then wait. Not hours, but maybe 20-30 minutes. When you do respond, keep it shorter than her message. This creates the same psychological tension as verbal pauses. Strategic pauses in phone calls are incredibly powerful because she can't see your body language. The silence feels more intense. Use this when she asks you something important. Do you want to hang out this weekend? Pause for 7 full seconds, then say, "Yeah, I could make that work." The pause makes your agreement feel more valuable. In group dynamics, selective silence makes you stand out. While other guys are competing for attention, talking over each other, trying to be the loudest or funniest, you're selectively engaging. When you do speak after a pause, everyone pays attention because your words have become valuable through scarcity. Sexual tension through pauses is advanced level stuff. When the conversation turns flirty or sexual, your pauses become loaded with meaning. She makes a suggestive comment, you pause, maintain eye contact, let a slow smile spread across your face, then respond. That pause creates more sexual tension than any words could. In long-term relationships, strategic silence prevents you from becoming predictable and boring. Your partner is used to your communication patterns. When you introduce strategic pauses, it creates novelty and makes her pay attention again. It reminds her that you're still somewhat mysterious, still worth pursuing. Here's your 30-day implementation plan. Week 1, focus on micropauses. Just 2 to 3 seconds before responding to questions. Get comfortable with that tiny bit of tension. Notice how people react differently when you don't immediately jump to respond. Week 2, extend to 5-second pauses. Start using the evaluation pause when she says something you'd normally immediately respond to. Watch how she starts filling the silence with more information, more investment. Week 3, implement the full 7-second rule. Use all 3 types of pauses. Start combining them with strong eye contact and relaxed body language. Notice how women start working harder for your attention and validation. Week 4, mastered the advanced techniques. Use silence in text messaging, phone calls, and group dynamics. Start calibrating based on individual responses. Develop your own style of strategic silence that feels natural and authentic to you. Building your silence tolerance is like building a muscle. At first, 7 seconds will feel like an eternity. Your brain will scream at you to say something, anything. But as you practice, you'll become comfortable with longer and longer pauses. Eventually, silence becomes your friend, your tool, your weapon. Combine strategic silence with other attraction principles for maximum impact. When you pass her tests with calm confidence and then pause before your next statement, you double the psychological impact. When you demonstrate high value through your actions and then use strategic silence in your communication, you become irresistible. Your new default communication style should be thoughtful, measured, and powerful. You're not the guy who nervously fills silences anymore. You're the man who's comfortable with tension, who thinks before he speaks, who makes his words valuable through scarcity. Remember, the 7-second rule isn't about playing games or manipulating anyone. It's about understanding the psychological dynamics that create genuine attraction and using them to become a more attractive, confident version of yourself. When you master strategic silence, you don't just change how women respond to you, you change how everyone responds to you. You become the guy who commands attention without demanding it, who creates attraction without chasing it, who builds deep connections without forcing them. The power of silence has been hiding in plain sight your entire life. Now that you understand it, you'll see it everywhere. The most powerful people in any room are rarely the loudest. They're the ones who speak thoughtfully, pause strategically, and make others earn their words. This is your chance to join their ranks, not through money or looks or status, but through mastering the simple art of strategic silence. 7 seconds. That's all it takes to completely transform how women see you. The question is, are you confident enough to use it? The choice is yours. Keep filling every silence with nervous chatter and watch women lose interest. Or embrace the power of the pause and watch as they become obsessed with earning your attention. The 7-second rule isn't just a technique. It's a completely different way of existing in the world. Use it wisely.